Good evening. This is Anna T. Bellum, broadcasting live from the Franklin House in Alton, Illinois, October 15, 1858. Abraham Lincoln and Stephen A. Douglas have just concluded 7 debates this afternoon outside City Hall here, and we are ready to talk to both candidates running up for U.S. Senate seat in Illinois. I am going to ask them to summarize their main points that they put forth in the 7 congressional districts that they visited together since August. Welcome, Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Douglas. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you some questions chosen for the various subjects you spoke on during your debates. In the interest of time, please do not give a 1 hour or 1.5 hour answer. Just 3 minutes will do. And please do not interrupt the other candidate when he is speaking. Miss Jane Flum, our receptionist, will ring a bell if you go over time. All right? Let's start with your favorite subject, Mr. Douglas, popular sovereignty. What do you have to say about that?
Fellow citizens, as I said at our first stop in Ottawa, popular sovereignty assures every state the right to self-determination. Popular sovereignty is the key to national growth. Popular sovereignty is the only guarantee of peace. Popular sovereignty now and forever.
No, those are the voters.
Well, maybe I can change their vote.
Before you go on with your sermon, could you tell us what it is? It sounds like a cure for something.
It is. It is the matter whether the people have the right to govern themselves as they see fit, as in Kansas and Nebraska. Whether they shall be allowed to regulate their domestic institutions, such as slavery, in their own way. Slavery's future is in the hands of the territories themselves. Its purpose is to maintain the rights of the states as they are guaranteed under the Constitution, and then we will have peace and harmony between the different states and sections of our glorious Union.
Now you're stooping to their level.
No, I'm trying to make them come up to my level.
All right now, Mr. Lincoln, do you have anything to say about this?
Yes. I'd like to take up what it really is. Judge Douglas is prescribing his dogma of popular sovereignty as a panacea for all the ills growing out of slavery. What it has produced is 200 murdered settlers in Kansas so far, 2 rival legislatures and 2 state capitals, pro-slavery in Lecompton, anti-slavery in Topeka. Popular sovereignty means the freedom of one man to plunge another into the moral, social, political evil of slavery. Or, to say it another way, it gives the South a free ticket to legalize slavery in the Western territories. This means we are no longer talking about popular sovereignty in the territories, but popular tyranny. The justification is the belief that if one man chooses to enslave another, no third man should be allowed to object.
Well, I guess we'll have to let the voters decide if that's a good thing or not, based on their votes. Now let's get to Freeport. You posed some interesting questions. Mr. Lincoln, would you like to tell us what you were driving at?
There was a purpose there that was not particularly obvious to Judge Douglas, because I asked him 4 bland questions after answering his 7 from Ottawa. The purpose was to lure him into answering something that the pro-slavery fire eaters would not want to hear from any candidate they might vote for.
How do you mean?
It was an innocent-sounding question, hidden in a group of 4 questions. I have it here. This was the second question. Can the people of the United States territory, in any lawful way, the key word here is lawful, against the wishes of any citizen of the United States, exclude slavery from its limits prior to the formation of a state constitution. Let's hear how he answered it. I call it the Freeport Doctrine.
I answered that question before hundreds of times. And I'll say it again, that in my opinion, the people can, by lawful means, exclude slavery from their limits prior to the formation of a state constitution. They can introduce it or exclude it by unfriendly legislation, because slavery cannot exist a day or an hour without police regulations. I've said that over and over. I am puzzled what he is getting at.
Miss Bellum, I enjoy the way he answered that question, because he is going to hang himself with that answer. The whole South is going to excommunicate him from their pro-slavery parties, because he admits that popular sovereignty could stop slavery in its tracks with unfriendly legislation. He will lose every Democratic vote in the South, especially if he runs for president.
Fine, let's get to the Dred Scott decision. How do you both feel about it? You can start first, Mr. Douglas.
Yes, I endorse the Dred Scott decision. Chief Justice Taney has said in his Dred Scott decision that a Negro slave, being property, stands on an equal footing with other property that an owner may carry in the United States territory. What Mr. Lincoln wants to do, however, is to bring the Supreme Court into disrepute and change the government from one of laws into that of a mob. From the Dred Scott decision, there is no appeal this side of heaven. He's going to reverse that decision. By stirring up rebellion constituted a
All right, don't stir yourself up, Mr. Douglas. You sound like you're ready for violence yourself. Mr. Lincoln, where are you on the Dred Scott decision?
I do not oppose the Dred Scott decision so far as it concerns the freedom of one man, Dred Scott. But I refuse to accept its directives as rules for political action. Judge Douglas is a part of a political conspiracy to legalize slavery in the Western Territories, masquerading under his "I don't care if it's voted down or up" attitude, while he is waiting for another Dred Scott type decision that will legalize slavery everywhere, north as well as south.
All right, boys. I would like you to sum up your main position for your platform. If you could express it briefly. Mr. Douglas?
I'll sum up my platform by saying slavery is a constitutionally guaranteed and morally neutral right. It's no business of anyone in the free states to interfere with the free exercise of that right. I also wish to say that Mr. Lincoln is setting up a slippery slope which would allow blacks to settle in the states with whites on an equal basis, to vote and run for office. I also want to conclude that the real issue of 1858 is the sinister designs of lunatic Abolition who want to disturb the racial status quo, thwart the will of the people, and plunge the whole country into pointless
Enough! You could have stopped with what you stood for. Your platform is starting to sound very threatening. Mr. Lincoln, give us a moderate conclusion that we can all live with.
My secretaries, John Nicolay and John Hay, have noticed that the one dominating characteristic of my speeches is their constant recourses to broad and enduring principles. Their effect is to lead public opinion to a nobler and loftier concept of political duty, such as my praise and defense of the great truths of the Declaration of Independence. I said at Lewiston, Illinois this year, a key point: Douglas and his friends may search the records of the country, but will not be able to find one man who will say that the Declaration of Independence did not include the Negro. The fathers of our Constitution gave us a beacon to our children, and countless myriads of children who will live on this earth. They knew the tendency of prosperity to breed tyrants, so they established the great self-evident truths in the Declaration, so that if some man or faction were to set up a doctrine that none but the rich and or white were entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, one might look again to the Declaration and take courage to renew the battle, so that truth and justice and mercy and all the human and Christian virtues might not be extinguished from the land. I charge you to drop every paltry, insignificant thought for any man's success. But do not destroy that immortal emblem of humanity, the American Declaration of Independence.
I wish to say something after watching these two candidates.
I hope you say something nice.
Nice or not, it shouldn't matter at this point. They're running for political office. I think Stephen Douglas panders to the lowest class of society with his slang, his coarse jokes, his abusive language. He has a sledgehammer style. His face is always livid with rage and despair. His fists always raving in the air like a mad bull. He's too dogmatic and appeals to prejudices. Then, he suppresses facts, twists conclusions, and perverts history. Whereas Mr. Lincoln, although looking awkward and lean, he impresses fairness on his audience and employs pure and elevated language that appeals to their higher, loftier nature.
Thank you, Miss Plum. I knew you said the right thing. Mr. Lincoln, I don't wish to follow your speech with any other conclusion or comment. You have introduced yourself to the first rank of national politics, and if you don't succeed in the U.S. Senate race, then let this be a political tryout for President of the United States in 1860. This is Anna T. Bellum for Abolition News Network saying good evening.
The words of the A&N anchor turned out to be true. The debates were as a group a single event which attracted the attention of all the thinking men of the country, said Alan C. Gulzo in the book Lincoln and Douglas, The Debates That Defined America. And Lincoln was invited to come to New York City to Cooper Union for his first national address for the Republican Party for president on February 27, 1860.